Hello everyone, this is Coach Durga. So I would like to show you today one of my tournament games which I played, I think it's 2 years ago, and this was a tournament I played in USA. So I was white, so I played e4 and I faced c5. And now to refute c5, obviously you have many lines. You can play knight c3 as a closed variation and followed by 4, which is a Grand Prix attack, or else you can also play a main line which is knight f3, and then game can go like d6, then d4, cd4, nd4, then knight f6, knight c3, and most of the time black will opt for the dragon variation, and then white can just have a counter attack in terms of going for a Yugoslav attack, a very sharp line where white will attack on the black's king side and black will attack on the white's queen side. But anyway, as of now, we will discuss about my game, which line I've opted for, and obviously in the next video definitely we will look at this Yugoslav attack and some games involved in it with classical dragon. So going back to the game, so my opponent played c5, then obviously I opted for Grand Prix attack. So I played knight c3, then he played g6, then I played f4, then e6, knight f3, and I was expecting d5 because that is the right way to tackle the Grand Prix attack. But my opponent played knight e7, then I played bishop c4, and then bg7, castle and castle. Now here this is my plan. So I'm going to play queen e1 followed by queen h4, then I can play the knight to g5. Before that I'll play d3 f5, and I will also exchange this dark color bishops for the g7 at the right time. So I played queen e1 and then e6. The opponent was threatening b5, so I played a4, and here instead of a4 I was also considering bishop e2 because b5 is the threat, but I wanted to maintain the bishop on c4. It's very sharp and it's more active there. So he played a4 and I played a4, and then he played knight c6, then I played d3, and then knight d4. I can just ignore it, or I can just capture n into d4, c into d4 can also be played, or I can also play bishop b3 because as you could see the threat is on the c2 right now. So I could go for a capture, but I played bishop b3 supporting the c2 square, and then my opponent played d5 immediately attacking e4. So I continued with the plan f5, and I can also consider here playing knight into d4, c into d4, but then again I have to play nd1, and then I have to redevelop this knight from f2 to g4 or to an appropriate square. So I wanted to avoid these complications, and I just continued with the plan of f5 because now my next move would be like I want to play queen h4, and then I'm going to exchange my dark color bishops on the h6 square. So pawn into pawn, queen h4, so I'm continuing with the threat and ignoring what my opponent is going to do. So my opponent played knight into. I can also play g into f3 here, but I played rook into f3 because then I can just do a rook lift from h3, and then I can threaten a mate on h7 square. So opponent captured d into e4, then I continued with the mate threat. So h5 is the correct move. So my opponent played h5, then I played bg5, so pinning the knight. It's a pretty good move, and you could see here now the bishop which I have not exchanged is coming in handy because it's not letting my opponent play f6 because it's pinning the pawn. And if you place re8, then I can just mount pressure on the pin piece with knight on d5. So he gave a check, king h1, and then this is a good move. He's attacking my rook, so I played bishop into e7. So my opponent played queen e8. Now queen g5 is a very good move. As you could see, the threat is rook into h5. So I sacrifice the rook, and now it's an easy win for me because queen into g6 and the pawn is pinned. So king h8, and I can also win with queen h6, And if he plays king g8, then I can look at playing a very sharp move, knight d5, because knight d5 is threatening a lot of things here. I'm also threatening a fork here, and I can play knight f6, and if the bishop captures, and then again I can capture with the bishop, and I can put up a mate on g7 score. It's a very sharp move. So knight d5, I think it'll close the game. So here what happened was, in the game I played queen into h5 check, king g8, and then I can again play queen g6 and followed by knight d5, what I've told you before. So first I chose to play knight d5. So here he played bishop to f5, but he could also play queen c6, which I was calculating. But for queen f6, for the queen c6, the correct move would be bishop f6, because after bishop f6 I can threaten a mate here, and the only option my opponent would have is to delay the mate with checks, because even if he plays queen into bishop, I can just simply do knight into f6. What I could also do for the queen into knight into bishop into f6, and then I can play the queen g6 check, king h8, queen into f6, king h7, and then g into h3 is a brilliant move, because then I can bring this rook, which is looking underdeveloped right now, and suddenly this rook becomes a very strong piece, because after that, no matter what the opponent plays, maybe he can play rook g8, but then I can just do queen into f7 check, and if king h6, then I can look at queen into f4 check, and if rook g5, then obviously I can play rook g1, and g8 is the only move to stop the mate, but obviously I'm going to capture that piece, and now whatever he does, it's just a matter of few moves before I do a checkmate, queen into g5, and if he plays king on h8, then there's a queen h5 mate. So in the actual game, what I did was, and how the game was finished, when we were here, knight d5, my opponent played bishop f5, then I played knight f6 check, and then there are two options: either he can do bishop into knight, or he can play king g7. But if he plays king g7, that also gives me a quick finish, because first I'll be doing a queen into f5, and after queen into f5 there's a threatening mate on h7, so you'll have to do bishop into, and then I can do bishop into f6 check, then king h6, then I can play queen g5 check, and then king h7, and then queen g7 mate. So here my opponent played bishop into f6, and then bishop into f6, and now there is a forced mate. There's only way to stop the mate is bishop h7. I don't see any other move here, because the rest of the moves will not stop. And even if he plays bishop h7, I can easily mate, because now I can play queen h6, or I can also play the queen to g5, because after queen g5 check, there's a only move bishop g6, and queen into g6 check. That's the mate. So this is how I finished the game. Hope you enjoyed the game, guys. I'll see you again with another interesting game. Until then, good day and goodbye, and please do take care of yourself. Bye bye.